Today, I'd like to share with you what I'm calling my 3 top practice principles. Now, these are different than practice techniques, in that a practice technique is how do we actually go about practicing something. So things like slow practice, rhythmic practice, hand-separate practice, skeletons, all of this kind of thing. A principle, on the other hand, though, is something that we can apply whatever kind of technique that we're using, and these are things that I found make my personal practice far, far more effective when I do have the discipline to apply them. Are you sitting comfortably? Then let's begin. Now, the first of these is something that I think is very well represented by this hilarious picture I saw on Twitter one day. I think it's a trap that's very, very easy to fall into, and if we're not careful, we realise that when we've been practicing, we've simply been playing through something repetitively. And in fact, I saw an excellent interview with Josh Wright and Graham Fitch, and Graham said that he'd heard on numerous occasions in conservatories all around the world where students would basically fire up their metronomes, set their tempo, and simply repeat things through, marking time, as it were, rather than really practicing. Now, I used to think to myself that using the practice technique of sections I've talked about many times in the past protected me from doing this, but really, whether it's the entire piece or whether it's a small section we're practicing, if all we're actually doing is repeating something ad nauseum, then is it really practicing? Now, I'm not saying that there isn't an amount of healthy repetition that we need to do. Clearly, repetition is the mother of all learning. We know this. However, if that's the only thing that we're doing, then I think we're missing a trick. What I found is that the more difficult I find something to learn, the more value I get from finding as many different ways of practicing it as I possibly can. And these can include all sorts of things such as different tempi, playing it slightly slower or even faster than we want to play it at the end. Can include different articulations. We can practice it staccato, we can practice it legato, we can practice one hand staccato with the other legato. We can practice in different dynamics, so purposely louder or quieter than we actually want the final product to be. We can use different voicings, we can bring out inner voices, we can emphasize the bass line rather than the melody. We can use different rhythms, and there's a whole variety of these that we can use. And of course, we can use the idea of pauses, such as the floating fermata or the floating caesura, or even my power pause. If you take a look at my practice tips video, you'll see a whole range of different things you can try. And in this video linked here are my top 3 ones that I use perhaps the most regularly. Now, the second principle I found extremely helpful is that I've always taken 1 or 2 steps back. Now, by this, what I mean is, when we come to start practicing something on any given day, we shouldn't simply pick up from where we left off the day before. Rather, we should probably start from where we started the day before and start to work ourselves forward. So let's just say, for example, that we were using the technique of gradually increasing the speed with a metronome. So if yesterday I was practicing at 90 beats per minute and I managed to get it to 100, then today I'm not going to start from 100. I'm going to restart from 90 and work my way back to 100 again before trying to go any faster. Another example would be increasing the number of notes we play quickly at any one time. So if yesterday I started practicing 4 notes quickly, and managed to get myself to the point now I was practicing 8 notes quickly, then what I'll do today is I'll go back to the 4 notes quickly and try to work myself forward to 8 notes quickly. And the same can be applied to pretty much any other practice techniques such as skeletons, etc. And maybe what we'll find is that in actual fact, to get back just to the point that we were yesterday takes an entire practice session for us, so our allotted time for a given piece. And in that case, it's probably better to simply use that as a consolidation opportunity and not actually try to go any further forward at this point in time. And my third principle is that of practicing backwards. Now, I'm not trying to say that means practicing the notes in reverse order. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the idea that the best way to learn something is to start by practicing the end first and then gradually work our way to the beginning. And what I'm sort of thinking of is a variation on this theme, if you like. So let's just say on a given day, we've decided that we're going to focus most of our attention on one particular part of a piece. And we get to the point that we're happy. So we might then think, so okay, now we'll move forward to the next bit. However, it actually pays to go backwards. So rather than going to the next section, go back to the previous section and see if we're able to practice from there forwards to the end of where we were today. And what you might find, especially if it's a piece that you've been practicing for quite a while, is that when you do this, suddenly the bit that we've just practiced and seemed to be okay starts to fall apart again. And I think it's probably due to old muscle memory that lingers. So what we can actually do is to make sure we really don't go back into the old habit of playing something. We can then use the add-on technique, so add in a phrase at a time, until we get to the end of that section again, to make sure that we can play from a point earlier. Try applying these 3 principles to your own practice sessions and let me know how you get on in the comments. If you'd like to know about my 3 favourite practice techniques, then the video here takes you through those. And of course, if you're not already, please do subscribe to Tommy's Piano Corner. Don't forget to hit that little bell icon so you're notified of new videos as and when they're released. I thank you very much for watching today and look forward to seeing you very soon.